fortune. O Krishna, killer of the Keshi demon.
Text 31. Nacha Shreyo Anupashyami Hatva Janamahave Nakanksha Vijayam Krishna Nacha Rajyam Sukhanicha.
I do not see how any good can come from killing my own kinsmen in this battle, nor can I, my dear Krishna, desire any subsequent victory, kingdom, or happiness.
Text 32 to 35. Kim no Rajayana Govinda Kim Voje Jivitena Va Yeshamarte Kanksh Chitam Mamno Rajyam Oga Sukhanicha Taime Vashista Yuddhe Pranamstvaktva Dhananicha Acharya Pitara Putras Tateva Chapitamaha Matula Sarvasura Putra Shala Sambandinastatha Etana Hantumichami Natopi Madhusudana Api Tre Lokyarajasya Eto Kim Nu Mahikrita Nihatya Tartarashtrana Kaprita Syajanardana.
O Govinda, of what avail to us are a kingdom, happiness, or even life itself, when all those for whom we may desire, them are now arrayed on this battlefield. O Madhusudana, when teachers, fathers, sons, grandfathers, maternal uncles, fathers-in-law, grandsons, brothers-in-law, and other relatives are ready to give up their lives and their properties and are standing before me, why should I wish to kill them, even though they might otherwise kill me? O maintainer of all living entities, I am not prepared to fight with them, even in exchange for the three worlds, let alone this earth. What pleasure will we derive from killing the sons of Dhritarashtra?
Text 36. Papam eva shrayad asman hatvetan atata yina tasmana naraha vayam antum tritartarashtran sabandhavan swajanam hi katham hatva sukhina swayamamadhava.
Sin will overcome us if we slay such aggressors. Therefore, it is not proper for us to kill the sons of Dhritarashtra and our friends. What should we gain, O Krishna, husband of the goddess of fortune, and how could we be happy by killing our own kinsmen?
Text 37 and 38. Yadyapyayete na pashyanti lobhopahata chetasa kulashya kritam dosham mitradrohe chapatakam katham gneyam ashmabhi papad asman nivartitum Kulashya kritam dosham prapasyabi janardana.
O Janardana, although these men, their hearts overtaken by greed, see no fault in killing one's family or quarreling with friends, why should we, who can see the crime in destroying a family, engage in such acts of sin?
Text 39. Kulashaye pranashyanti kula dharma sanatana Dharmenaste kulam kulam Krishnam adharmo abhibhavyati uta.
With the destruction of the dynasty, the eternal family tradition is vanquished, and thus the rest of the family becomes involved in irreligion.
Text 40. Adharma bhibhavat Krishna pradushyanti kulastriya Stitushu drustashu varnashya jayate varnasan sankara.
When irreligion is prominent in the family, O Krishna, the women of the family become polluted, and from the degradation of womanhood, O descendant of Vrishni, comes unwanted progeny.
Text 41. Sankaro nara kachavya gunagnanam kulasya cha patanti pitaro yesham lupta pindo dadak kriya.
An increase of unwanted population certainly causes hellish life for both the family and for those who destroy the family tradition. The ancestors of such corrupt families fall down because the performances of offering them food and water are entirely stopped.
Text 42. Dosher ita kula gnanam varna shankara karake utsagnate chati dharma kula dharmascha sashvata.
By the evil deeds of those who destroy the family tradition and thus give rise to unwanted children, all kinds of community projects and family welfare activities are devastated.
Text 43. Utsana kula dharmanam manushyanam janardana narake niyatam vaso bhavati tyunu shushruva.
O Krishna, maintainer of the people, I have heard by disciplic succession that those whose family traditions are destroyed dwell always in hell.
Text 44. Ahobat mahat papam tatum vyavasita vayam yad rajas sukha lobhena hantum swajanamutyata.
Alas, how strange it is that we are preparing to commit greatly sinful acts. Driven by the desire to enjoy royal happiness, we are intent on killing our own kinsmen.
Text 45. Yadi mam apratikaram ashastram shastrapanaya tartarashtra prane hanyus tanme shemataram bhavate.
Better for me if the sons of Dhritarashtra, weapon in hand, were to kill me unarmed and unresisting on the battlefield.
Text 46. Are we continuing? Or?
Yes.
Okay. Sanjay Vacha Evam Uktvarjuna Sankhya Rato Pasta Upa Visat Rishyaya Saram Chapam Sokas Sam Vigna Manasa.
Sanjaya said, Arjuna, having thus spoken on the battlefield, cast aside his bow and arrows and sat down on the chariot, his mind overwhelmed with grief. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mataji, for giving us the opportunity to recite today.
Very
Please forgive
much.
us for any shortcomings, if there was any. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. I have a question, Ananta Vijay Prabhu. Normally, when like you have two connections, then there is always an echo, but that wasn't happening in your case. How was that possible?
We're in separate rooms.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much.
She's in a different room than I am at the moment. Yes.
No, but I didn't realize that just being in different rooms would also help, because otherwise there's always this, loud echo sound. So, okay. So
Yes.
that's good. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mataji. Thank you so much, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna.
Okay, so I'll just share my screen. Please let me know that you all can see the screen.
Yes, Mataji.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, so we are going to continue with chapter 1. And today we are going to be doing verse 43. Right, okay. So let's recite the verse 43 before we start. Utsanna kula dharmanam manushyanam janardana narake niyatam vaso bhavat iti anushruma. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. O Krishna, maintainer of the people, I have heard by disciplic succession that those who destroy family traditions dwell always in hell. Does anybody want to read the purport? It's a really small purport today.
I will do, Mataji. Can I do?
Yes, please.
I will.
Please.
Yeah. Purport by Apaicharam Vindam Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Arjuna bases this argument not on his own personal experience, but on what he has heard from the authorities. That is the way of receiving real knowledge. One cannot reach the real point of factual knowledge without being helped by the right person who is already established in that knowledge. There is a system in the Varnashrama institution by which before that one has to undergo the process of atonement for his sinful activities. One who is...
Sorry, there is some background noise. Please, could everybody just mute yourselves? Thank you.
One who is always engaged in sinful activities must utilize the process of atonement called prayaschita. Without doing so, one surely will be transferred to hellish planets to undergo miserable lives as a result of sinful activities. Yes.
Thank you, Mataji. Before we continue, let's just say our prayers. Om Agyantimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vanchakalpatirubhascha Kripa Sindhubhevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschata Deshatarine. Okay, so let's start with this particular verse today. There are quite a few important points that we can discuss from this verse. And let's hope that we are able to get the nectar out of this verse and from Srila Prabhupada's purports. So let's start with So the first thing that Prabhupada is speaking about in his purport and makes a very, very important point is about how Arjuna, so here the word that Arjuna is saying is that I have heard from disciplic succession, Anushushrama. So it is not that, he's saying that this is my opinion, this is what I think. And Prabhupada, many times he was very, very firm about this, that people nowadays, they tend to say this is what I think, or this is what my opinion. And Prabhupada would say, what is the value of your opinion? What do you know that you can give your opinion on something? And that is why the way we get this knowledge is through disciplic succession. And Arjuna is saying this when he is questioning Krishna. He is saying that I have heard through disciplic succession about what I'm going to question you, right? Now, the problem here is that I'm sure all of us have heard this, that the conditioned soul has got 4 defects. Does anybody want to tell me what the 4 defects the soul has? Prabhupada talks about this in all of his lectures. Anybody wants to have a go? What are the 4 defects?
Hare Krishna, Madhu.
Yes. Palika Mataji?
If anybody else wants to say that, please let out them.
I did not see any. I did not. Was there anybody else, please? Okay, nobody is speaking now. So Palika Mataji, you can.
It's cheating propensity, and it's coming in my mind, but it's going. And
okay, if you tell one, if the others want to say anything else, if anybody else wants to say, it's nice to have.
Is it illusion? Illusion is there.
Yes.
Somebody is putting it in the chat, Mataji.
I can't, right now I can't see my chat because I am
All right,
sharing.
okay.
Is the illusion there?
Yeah.
Yes.
Illusion.
Imperfect senses.
Yeah.
Yes.
Imperfect senses.
And commits mistakes.
Yeah.
So these are the 4 defects that a conditioned soul has. And that is why when we have these defects already, we cannot understand anything perfectly. It's not going to be possible for us to understand something perfectly if we ourselves have got these defects. And that is why Arjuna is not saying that, this is what I think, or this is what I understand, or this is my opinion. What he is saying is that I have heard it through reliable sources, through disciplic succession, through the Shastras. And Prabhupada is making this very, very important point here, that all of us also need to get this knowledge from reliable sources. So the sentence that Prabhupada uses is, one cannot reach the real point of factual knowledge without being helped by the right person who is already established in that knowledge. Now, many a times in our sessions here on our chat sessions, we have spoken about this, that how it is important to get the knowledge, to get the guidance from somebody who already has this knowledge, And of course, it is this knowledge is, spiritual knowledge and Shastras are aparishayam. They are not coming from any human being. They are coming straight from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. As we can see in this verse that is quoted in the Bhagavatam, it says, Dharmam tu shakshat bhagavat pranitam. Navai vidur rasyo napi deva na siddha mukhya asura manushya. Kuto nu vidyadhara charanadhya. So it says, the translation says, real religious principles are enacted by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Although fully situated in the mode of goodness, even the great rishis who occupy the topmost planets cannot ascertain the real religious principles, nor can the demigods or the leaders of the Siddhalok, to say nothing of the asuras, ordinary human beings, vidyadharas and charanas. So that means that this knowledge for us, it says here ordinary human beings, and we come in that category, ordinary human beings. For us to get this knowledge on our own is impossible. And that is why we need somebody who can give us this guidance. And there is no better person than a Vaishnav, because it's only a Vaishnav who can, nobody can understand Krishna fully, but at least a Vaishnav through his love, and because then Krishna gives his mercy, can at least understand Krishna as much as Krishna wants him to understand. So for us normal people, it is so very important that we get the correct guidance from Guru, from our teachers, from acharyas, from senior devotees, uh, so that we then realize the true knowledge. So this is a very important point that Prabhupada is making in his purport, and of course he also says the same thing in his various classes as well. Now, at this moment, what Arjuna is doing is obviously trying to give various excuses why he should not fight. And as you know, the Bhagavad Gita is, it's a ladder from, Arjuna is starting right from the bottom, and then Krishna takes him up to Bhakti Yoga. And this obviously, as we have heard in previous classes, Arjuna is doing this for all our benefits, because he is an eternal servant, eternal associate of the Lord. So he has been put in this situation by Krishna to enact. It's like a drama that is happening, a drama for our benefit. So at this moment, Arjuna is talking and giving excuses based on Niti Shastra and Dharma Shastra. So, human beings have different codes of conduct. In Vedic times, there were different scriptures that were used to kind of know what is the right and wrong way to behave. So there is, we've all heard of Artha Shastra, which gives us, about Kama, Moksha, Artha, and all of those things. Then there is the Niti Shastra, which is used mainly by Kshatriyas, rulers, ruling class, in order to take decisions that will help them to rule their kingdom. Then there is Dharma Shastra. Dharma Shastra generally is used by the Brahmin class in order to know what is the right dharma. In any situation, what is the right dharma. So right now, Arjuna is using all his arguments based on Niti Shastra and Dharma Shastra. And you will see as you progress in the Bhagavad Gita that Krishna then takes him beyond these to the highest Shastra, which is the Atma Shastra, Atma Gyan. So Krishna will enlighten Arjuna about the Atma, about the soul. And that it'll happen. I don't want to give too much away, because it's a nice progression in the Bhagavad Gita. But this is what Arjuna is at the moment. Arjuna is basing all his arguments on these things. So now what he says is Utsana Kula Dharmanam Manushyam Janardana. So here again, Arjuna is talking about that the human life has got a great responsibility. The cats and dogs don't have to worry about family traditions or culture, or are we doing the right thing or the wrong thing. They don't have that kind of consciousness. But the human consciousness is very, very evolved. And that is why it is a great responsibility that we do the right things. Simply because if we start doing, making mistakes and doing the wrong things, then we know that, our future generation, our children, grandchildren, and that will continue. And if you see to a certain degree in the modern world, that is what is happening. Somewhere the family traditions and culture has been lost. A lot of people talk about this, that what we've seen growing up, we don't see that. And to be honest, it is not the fault of the current generation. It is because we as parents are not able to instill those values in our children. And that is why things are getting lost. And Prabhupada spoke about this even 50 years back. He said that already you can see that there is a loss of this culture and this tradition that is there. So Arjuna is talking about that as well. Now, the problem here is that Arjuna is still thinking from a concept where he is thinking about himself. What is the right thing for me to do? But what the most important Kula Dharma for all of us, and especially for Vaishnavas, is to satisfy Lord Krishna. So Arjuna's Kula Dharma is to satisfy Lord Krishna. Obviously, he at this moment, he is not thinking about that. He is thinking about the other material factors that are involved over here. But like we say, Krishna will eventually get him to that stage. And I will not quote the entire verse because I know yesterday Mukundhari Prabhu did quote this verse, and it is a very, very beautiful verse from the Bhagavatam where it says, Nate vidhu swartha gatim hi Krishna. Swartha gatim hi Krishna. That is the phrase, that is the line that we have to keep in our mind constantly. That the only activity that we must think of as Vaishnavas is to satisfy Lord Krishna. And once we satisfy Lord Krishna, then everything is fine. The problem is that if you think about mundane considerations, then there are so many things that are right or wrong. So if you think from our material point of view, and as long as we are on this material platform, then we'll have to obey all those rules and regulations because we are on this platform. But the moment you bring Krishna in the picture, because Krishna is above all duality, God is all good. God cannot do anything wrong. He is absolute. So anything that he does is correct. Let's take an example from Mahabharata itself. I'm sure most of you, if not all, know the story where because they had to kill, that's funny, to kill Dronacharya. And it was very, very difficult, of course, because he was the teacher. So obviously, you know, he knew much more than his students. So Krishna suggested to Yudhishthir that you go and say that Ashwadhama is dead. Now, why did he ask Yudhishthir to do it? Because he knew that everybody knows how Yudhishthir is such a truthful, honest, and righteous person. So if he says it, then Dronacharya will believe it. But Yudhishthir being, see, his good qualities became the drawback when it came to serving Krishna, because he could not bring himself to lie. And it is said in fact, even Prabhupada, you know, talks about it, that because he disobeyed Krishna, you know, because he wanted to stay truthful, he had to see hell. So the point here that is being made, sorry, there is some background sound and I don't know who is. Anyways, I'll just request everybody to please just mute yourselves. Okay, so the point that is being made over here is that the only thing that we must consider is if we can satisfy him, please him, rendering loving service to him, then your life is successful. That's all. So Arjuna at the moment is thinking about himself, is thinking about what is right and what is wrong for him to do. See? So he is in fact thinking, in the previous verses we've seen, I think it came in the set of verses of 132 to 35, where he is thinking that this whole battle has been arranged for his Rajya Sukha. That is not the case. The battle has been arranged. There are reasons why it happened, but the battle has been arranged by Krishna because he wants to get rid of all the unwanted, sinful people, sinful Kshatriyas who are not conducting themselves the way they should. So the battle is not there so that Arjuna and the Pandavas can enjoy the kingly pleasures. That is not the case. Krishna has got a much bigger plan why this is happening. And that is why, see, again, a lesson, like I said, even in my last class where I was saying that we must always try and take lessons from the pages of the Bhagavad Gita. So here is a very important lesson for us, is that whether good or bad comes in our lives, knowing that Krishna is orchestrating this thing, have the faith that it is ultimately for the good. Because Krishna will not do anything that is not for our good. So here also the same thing is happening where, obviously Arjuna is thinking in those terms. Obviously then he will be elevated to the higher stages, but at the moment this is what he is thinking, and he's addressing Krishna with that consciousness. Okay. Then he goes on to say, Narake niyatam vaso. So Narake is in hell, niyatam always, vasa is residence. So he says that, again here there are two factors. So Arjuna is saying that those whose family traditions are destroyed. So in the previous verses, we've seen what he means by family traditions, where there will be Varna Sankara, there will be no offerings made to the ancestors, So all of those, so he's talking about that those whose family tradition are destroyed. There is another aspect where he's thinking in the terms that one who destroys the family tradition. So he's thinking that if I am, if I'm taking part in this war and I'm killing all these people, then I am the cause for the destruction of family. And so he says that such people then will be in hell always. However, to refute this, this is just a picture of, as we all know here, can you all see this picture? I don't know how clear it is, but you've seen this picture before in our chat sessions.
Yes.
And and this is not the most important aspect of this verse. Thank you very much. And this is not the most important aspect of this verse, but I just thought, because we're talking about hellish planets. So as you can see, we are here on the Earth planet. Below the Earth planets are the lower planets like Attala, Vitala, Sutala, all of that. And even below that are the hellish planets. Okay. So now Arjuna is thinking, he's thinking that, if he does this, then he and people who destroy family traditions go into the hellish planets, niyatam, always, right? Obviously, Arjuna is talking about the soul, because it is not the gross body that goes anywhere. It is only the soul that travels through the various planetary systems. And in fact, in our Vedic scriptures, there is no concept of eternal hell or eternal heaven. As we all know, and in the Bhagavad Gita, there is description that when you perform pious activities, you will go to the heavenly planets. If you perform sinful activities, you will go to the lower planets. Now, I always give this example and analogy because it helps me to remember it. I hope it helps you all also. But if you think of the number 8, the number 8 is continuous. It doesn't have an end and a beginning. If you take the middle of the number 8, then that is the Earth planet. So right now, let's say we are on that Earth planet. We perform pious activities, we will go up. But as it is explained in the Bhagavad Gita, once your quota of your pious activities is over, you will fall back down, right? So you will fall back down. Now, while we are on the Earth planet, if we perform sinful activities, we will go down to the lower planets. However, again, once your quota of the sinful activities are over, you will again be elevated, or of course you can even fall down, but let's think about just this number 8. So you are constantly in this number 8, going from Earth to upper to lower to, it's a constant thing. So you're not eternally in the hellish planets. But of course, if you conduct sinful activities, you will go to the hellish planets. And in the Bhagavatam, 5th canto, chapter 26, Sukadev Goswami describes, the chapter is entitled Description of the Hellish Planets. And he describes these various, kind of hells, like there are 28, he describes them. And as you can see in this picture, that if you have done sinful activities, then you will be forced to go to these hellish planets. And if you read the descriptions, I mean, you know, your hair will stand on end with fear of the hellish planets. Such descriptions are given, you know, like you burning in oil and, you know, so many snakes biting you, and all of these descriptions are given. So yes, there is hellish planets, and if you do sinful activities, you will definitely go to hellish planets. And it says in the translation, God has given advanced consciousness to the human being. Therefore, he can feel the suffering and happiness of other living beings. The human being bereft of his conscious, however, is prone to cause suffering for other living beings. The assistance of Yamaraj puts such a person into the hell known as Andakupa, where he receives proper punishment from his victims. See, many times Prabhupada gives this example that, you know, if somebody is a meat eater and if he's killing the animals to eat, then in the next life, that same animal will come to kill him. So this example is given so many times by Prabhupada. And obviously then it goes on to, if you're going to cause any suffering to living beings and to other human beings, you know, definitely you will have to suffer, or you will have to pay for it. You know, so so Arjuna obviously is thinking all of these things right now. He is thinking that, you know, if I do sinful activities, then things will happen. Sorry, again, there is some background sound. I'm just going to mute. So at the moment, Arjuna is thinking about all these things. And then Prabhupada in his purport talks about actually atonement. So Prabhupada is talking about atonement. And in the Bhagavatam, Sukadev Goswami, because Parikshit Maharaj is asking Sukadev Goswami that, you know, you've described all these hellish planets to me, and they are so fearful. So what should a person do in order to avoid going to the hellish planets? And in answer to that, Sukadev Goswami says that, therefore, before one's next death comes, as long as one's body is strong enough, one should quickly adopt the process of atonement according to Shastra. Otherwise, one's time will be lost, and the reactions of his sin will increase. As an expert physician diagnoses and treats a disease according to its gravity, one should undergo atonement according to the severity of one's sins. So here Sukadeva Goswami is advising that one should atone. Now the problem here is that, you know, and Parikshit Maharaj goes on to talk, and he gives the example. I don't know if any of you have ever encountered this or seen this, but Prabhupada also gives this analogy a lot of times. The elephant goes into the river and plays with the water, washes himself completely, but as soon as he comes out of the water, he rolls again in mud. So what was the point of washing himself? So Parikshit Maharaj is asking Sukadev Goswami this question. He says that, you know, yes, one will atone, but we will still commit sinful activities. And if you think about it, so many of us are committing sinful activities even unknowingly. Like for instance, you know, we turn the gas on to cook. There must be so many small, infinite, small living entities who probably will die because of that act of ours. We're walking on the streets. We don't know how many living entities are being crushed. You know, so even our normal day-to-day activities, unknowingly, we are committing sinful activities. So then the point here is, what do we do? What do we do about this? Because this will happen every single day. So it said that one should atone in a way that you must ask forgiveness from the Lord. You must be honest about the sinful activities that you have conducted. Unknowingly is very difficult, but if knowingly you have done something, then you must be honest about it. You must speak to the Lord, you must speak to your guru, and you must be honest and accept that I have done this mistake. And that is atonement. Again, of course, as we study further, we will realize that this atonement is also not enough, simply because we are under the influence of the modes of material nature, and we will tend to knowingly, unknowingly commit sinful activities. And thus, Sukadeva Goswami says, therefore, the real atonement is enlightenment in perfect knowledge, Vedanta, by which one understands the supreme absolute truth. So, of course, one must be completely conscious of not committing sinful activities, not hurting other living entities as far as possible. But like we said, it may happen unknowingly. So that is why the real atonement is to understand the supreme absolute truth, realize he is the controller, he is the proprietor. Whatever is happening is because of his wish. Not even a blade of grass will move without his wish and his desire. And thus surrender to him, beg for forgiveness, try not to commit sinful activities, try not to hurt other people, but you may do it. So then be honest about it, that, yes, I have made a mistake and I beg for forgiveness. So that's real atonement, actually. So I'm just going to try and stop sharing my screen. And I'll just go over what we have discussed today. So what we discussed in the beginning is how Arjuna is getting his knowledge. It's not his opinion, but it is through the scriptures and through the disciplic succession. And Prabhupada says that is the correct way of getting the knowledge. Obviously, Arjuna is distressed because he is seeing all his family members standing in front of him, ready to do battle with him, ready to die and ready to kill him and his brothers. So he is distressed and he is giving various excuses why he should not fight. So he's talking about how the traditions will be destroyed. And he's also worried that if he commits these sinful activities, then he will go to hellish planets. And in fact, he's just talking about in general that anybody who commits sinful activities of, destroying family traditions will have to live in the hellish planets forever. And then Prabhupada in his purport talks about how how in the Varnashram system, you can atone for your sins. I did not discuss the Varnashram system today because I know that Mukund Hari Prabhu dealt with it at length yesterday and really described it very, very nicely. So yes, Prabhupada in his purports talks about atonement, and we see how real atonement is when you get the knowledge, develop the knowledge about who you are, who is Krishna, what's your relation with Krishna, understand that he is the controller, the proprietor, the director of not just your life, but the director of the entire universe. And thus, the best thing for me to do and the best position that I can be in is to take shelter of the lotus feet of Krishna. And how you can do that best is, we've discussed again many times, in this Kali Yuga, the best way to take shelter is by chanting the holy name. So I'll finish my presentation here. If there are any questions, comments, corrections, additions, please feel free. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
I just, you explained in the beginning that the conditioned soul has 4 defects.
Mm-hmm.
One is imperfect senses. What is that exactly?
Okay. So a very, very good example that Prabhupada uses is that, we think that we can know everything, but Tell me one thing, when you are sitting in this room, can you see beyond the wall what is happening in the next room?
No.
You can't. So that means your senses are limited. You cannot see beyond the wall. You can only hear what is happening in this room. You cannot hear anything beyond that. So your senses, you can see straight away that they're limited. Whereas Krishna is unlimited. So with your limited senses, how can you claim to understand the unlimited? Does that make sense, Chipra Mataji?
Yes, Mataji. Yes.
Yeah. So that is why we are talking about that a conditioned soul has imperfect senses. He cannot understand. Forget about spiritual things, even materially. There is only so much that we can understand. We cannot understand everything about everything, even in this material world. What to speak of the spiritual world, right? And that is why we can never say that we have the perfect knowledge of anything. I may be an expert, let's say I may be an expert doctor, let's say, but I am an expert doctor only in my limited field. I'll have all the knowledge and all the expertise in say that, I am a pediatrician, so I'll know about that. But if there is a orthopedic problem, if there is a neurological problem, do I know anything about it? I don't, because I have imperfect senses. I hope that makes sense.
Yes, very nice.
Yeah.
Thank you. Hare
Thank
Krishna,
you.
Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Chetna Mataji has raised her hand.
I just want to say thank you for sort of kind of bringing it to my mind, and that to have that awareness that apart from harming humans, we could potentially be harming all other life around us. I mean, sometimes you go and water, the garden or plants or whatever, you don't realize in that process you're keeping one alive. You're doing it to keep one alive, but of course there's another life that could be leaving because of that. So I think it's really nice to know that one way around it is to ask for forgiveness. Yes. And you also mentioned that with time we're sort of depleting in terms of culture and tradition. But this is just where I come from. I think there's maybe my generation or even the younger generation that sometimes there's so much confusion between what's spiritual, what religion is, what tradition is, what customs are, and what somebody's beliefs are just based on their experiences. And I think maybe that's why people kind of do away with culture, to not get caught up in what's not actually right.
Chetna Mataji, you are absolutely correct. And a couple of months back, there was a class at the Manor, and this thing was being discussed, that what we take on as something that is part of our culture, probably if you go back 200 to 250 years back, it wasn't. Like an example given at that time was about people eating meat or non-vegetarian food. And I'm not sure if many of you have read in the papers very recently that in Turkey, they have dug up this, there's an archaeological find of what is that called? Where you used to have it is to be in Greece, where they had these people fighting. What were they called? Gladiators, right? Gladiators. So they've dug up this thing, and they've actually found skeletons. And all of the skeletons that they found, by the study, they have found that they all were vegetarians. They were not non-vegetarians. They were not meat eaters. So the point that was being made at that time was that sometimes some things become a part of our culture and tradition, where if you actually go back in history, it wasn't the case. And that is the reason why Krishna consciousness is so very, very important. Why it is important is because when we are studying the Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada has written, and he says on the Bhagavad Gita, it says Bhagavad Gita as it is. There is no dilution. It is exactly as Krishna has spoken it. And thus it is so important for all of us to try and understand what Krishna is teaching us through Arjuna. It is for all of us. It applies to each and every one of us even now, although this was spoken more than 500 years back. So I totally get where you're coming from, because when we were growing up also, we would see some things which were ritualistic in our mind, and our parents were not able to explain to us why a particular thing is being done. Now,
Yeah.
the children today are so inquisitive, and if you do not give them the answer that satisfies their intelligence as to why a particular thing is being done, they will probably not do it. Right? And that's where Krishna consciousness comes in, because Krishna consciousness is able to answer the questions of everybody, immaterial of what age they come from, what race they come from, what, socio-economical background they are from. Bhagavad Gita is able to give you the answer to each and every question that you may have. I hope that makes some sense.
Wonderful. Yeah, it does. Thank you. That was wonderful. Thank you.
Bhavisha Mataji, you've got your hand raised.
Yeah, just one question, Mataji. You given the example of the elephant rolling in the mud. If you can explain more about that.
Okay, so here Prabhupada is using this analogy, saying that, when we commit some sinful activities, let's say that today, knowingly or unknowingly, I have hurt somebody by using harsh words, and I apologize. I say sorry for it, right? But the next day or after a couple of days, I will do the same thing again. Why? Because I am acting under the modes of the material nature. The modes of the material nature will make me act in a particular way. My consciousness is not purified. So the analogy being used is that the elephant goes for a bath, cleans itself, comes out and rolls in the mud again and becomes dirty again. So he keeps repeating this process, like we keep repeating the process of committing sins, saying sorry for it, then again going back and committing sins and saying sorry for it. That's the analogy.
But then it's become a nature, Mataji.
But that is the nature that we have to come out of. That is why you study the Bhagavad Gita, and you purify your consciousness. It will not happen in a day or two, because this nature that we have developed is not one lifetime. It is millions of lifetimes. It is millions of lifetimes. Yes, Prabhupada is saying that. But the point here is that is why you try. You ask for help. You pray. I am caught in this. For so many millions of lifetimes I've been doing this. This life I turn to you. Please help me. I want to break out of this cycle. That's what we have to do.
Thank you. And one more thing, Mataji. I know you are doing wonderful thing, but do you do anything that, I know it's a silly question, it's like a challenging for the rounds? Because I think I'm a very, that sort of childish person. The person need a challenge.
No. Challenge, the thing, Bhavisha Mataji is here.
Not the challenge, Mataji. I'm not using the right word, but I think you need some knock on your door that how many rounds today,
So the thing is, I'll tell you, somebody asked this question about chanting last week also. Yeah, and I answered the same thing. We all have our ups and downs. We all have our phases where we are doing amazingly well, and then we, fall down, and, we are not able to do it. Again, there are various reasons. It could be emotional, it could be physical, it could be so many reasons. The only thing that I can say is, like Prabhupada says, understand the urgency. You are in a house which is on fire. You need to get out of this house, otherwise you will burn. Right? So if you understand the urgency of the situation that you are in, you will chant your rounds no matter what, even if you're awake till 12 and 1. Now, they may not be good quality rounds, 100%. 100% they may not be good quality rounds, but you will still chant your rounds. When you understand and when you make a promise to Srila Prabhupada, to Lord Krishna, that Krishna, no matter what, I am going to try and chant X number of rounds. It could be just 1 round every day, but that is my promise to you. And I will not
You
break.
know, when you don't finish, the amount of the guilt you have to
But
not
that is good.
finishing.
No, but that is a good guilt. That is a good kind of guilt.
But
When
it's
you're trying.
not good that you get that guilt every day.
No, but Bhavisha Mataji, like I said, see, I know everybody is struggling, everybody's got issues. You must also be realistic. You must be realistic. In my situation, does my health allow me to do this? Does my family situation allow me to do this? If not, of course, for people obviously who are initiated, you know, we've made a vow to our guru and we don't break that for whatever reason, for whatever it may be. So one has to have that desire, and then you have to pray, because only the Lord can help you. Only the Lord can help you. So pray. Pray to your Guru Maharaj. Pray to Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada said, you don't worry, I will kick out all the problems from your life. So pray to him and hope that there will be a day when you will be able to keep up. Okay?
Thank you. Thank you so
Yes.
much. Hare
Shabani
Krishna.
and Girish Prabhu.
Can I say something to that, please, Mataji?
Yes, before Girish Prabhu, just hold on. Yes, Joli Mataji.
Oh, I'm just thinking about the energy you spend beating yourself up. You could use that to do an extra round. But really, honestly, it's no point feeling guilty every day. It just eats away at you, and it takes up so much energy, and you lose out on so much. So
Yeah.
it's best to.
Yeah, that is why, Joli Mataji, the main thing is to be realistic. Sometimes,
Yes.
you know, your situation may not allow you to do what you would like to do, although you have the desire. So at that time, express to Krishna that, Krishna, I would like to do this, but I am not able to because my current situation is not allowing. Maybe in the future, with your mercy, my situation may change. So there's no point in setting unrealistic goals if it is not going to happen. And at the end of the day, you say to yourself, I didn't do it. I'll give you an example of myself. I am a bit of an, how should I say it? Like, if I want to do something and I have loads of things that I set out that I want to do, and if I'm not able to do all of them in that one day, I get angry, I get upset. So my daughter said to me, she said, you're in the mode of passion, right? Because she said that why should you get angry on yourself? That means you have this false ego because you are saying to yourself, I can do all of these things. I can't do anything. Krishna will allow me to do, then I will do it. If Krishna does not allow me to do, I cannot do it. So I have to accept it in all humility that today I am not able to do it for whatever reasons, but I hope tomorrow I will try again. That does not mean that you become complacent and say, you know what, Krishna doesn't want me to do it. All right, then I'm just going to, sleep it out. No, you don't become complacent. You keep trying, and you keep praying. You keep praying.
Yeah, that's the thing, Mataji, you just said it, hope. The hope is there, that's the key.
Yes.
And that will, see you through because you're aware of it and you're hoping. That's a good place to be. It's a start, yes.
Definitely.
Yeah, thank you, Mataji. Thank you for kind words. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Let me move
You
on.
are kind, everybody's kind. We must be kind to each other, kind to ourselves.
Thank you, Joli Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Girish Prabhu and Shabani Mataji, I think you had your hand raised.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Mataji. In the slide from Srimad Bhagavatam 5:26, where Sukadev Goswami were describing the hellish planet people go into. And
yes.
Line of that says where the person who goes into the hellish planet, he receives proper punishment from his victims. Victims who are also in the hellish planet. How
that's a very
from the victims?
That's a very, very good question, Girish Prabhu. Now, there could be various ways in the sense that, when Prabhupada gives the example of that, when you're a meat eater and you're killing the animal will come in the next life and kill you. Now, does that mean that the animal becomes a human being and kills you in your next life? Or do you become an animal? So these are the details. What is being explained over here is that you will get punished. You will get punished for the act that you have committed. Like, let's say, if you have taken a human life, in fact, Prabhupada talks about how earlier a murderer, if he's murdered somebody, he would be hanged. Now, today's world, everybody thinks that's a very inhumane thing to do. But what Prabhupada explains is that actually that is better for the murderer because he's atoning for the sin that he has committed in this life itself. Obviously, we cannot apply that in today's world because today everything is skewed. The justice system is just not there. So what you're asking, that will it be the victim? It may not be the same exact soul. It could be another soul, or it could be just, the servants of Yamraj. That's the detail that can be looked into further. But the point being made is that whatever sinful activity you have committed, you will be punished for that. That's the point.
No, that
Okay.
point was clear, that obviously you go in hellish planet, you'll get punished. But the clarity was looking for that, how come victim can punish you in the hellish planet? Victim can punish you in any other planet as a human being, animal, whatever soul you get into.
Yeah, but same way, Girish Prabhu, the victim can also be in a hellish planet because he probably also may have committed sinful activities. I mean, what is there to say that he did not commit sinful activities? If you think about it like that.
Yeah.
Isn't it? So, I mean, that's why I'm saying these are such details that one then has to obviously study the whole evolution system. But even then you will not understand, like I say again, with our imperfect senses, because the victim also, what is there to say, what is there to stop me from saying that the victim was also a sinful person and he also landed in the hellish planets? Isn't it? Because think about it. Why is the victim being killed? Why is the victim being, in that situation? He's in that situation because in his past life, he must have committed some sinful activities. See the circle, see the cycle that we're making here?
Okay.
You see, because you think about it, we talk about karma. We say that something comes back to us because we have committed some past sinful activities. So the person who is getting murdered or is being killed or is being punished for whatever reasons, maybe in his past life he's done something. Because if we study the evolution cycle, and we talk about, and we've spoken so many times in these sessions, that if I'm committing sinful activities, I may come back as an animal in my next life. Now, so the animal who is being killed, in his previous life, he had committed some sins. That is why he's an animal.
Yeah.
See, so it's a cycle. It's a constant cycle of good, bad, and sinful activities, and then some good karma, and you come up and you go down. That's why that number 8, and that's why so important to get out of this cycle.
Okay. Thank you, Madhu.
Hope that makes sense now.
Yeah, Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Or corrections, additions, if anybody else wants to add?
Hi, sorry, can I just add something, please? It'll be very quick.
Yes.
This is just something I watched some time ago. It's probably not religious or spiritual in any way, but it was an author speaking on a podcast. And the lady before, she was talking about not being able to do the rounds and the chanting. I don't know if this is applicable or relatable at all, but what that author was saying, that when you want something, don't ask for it out of desperation. Ask for it from a place of peace, and it will always come to you. Which for me, it kind of blew my mind.
Yeah, no, that's a very, very good thing. Ask for it from a place of peace. And there's another thing, when I don't read these many books these days, but when I used to read, and I used to be a voracious reader, I'd read the book The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. And in that it says that when you desire something really, really badly, then the entire universe will come together to somehow give it to you.
Yeah, it's that is one of my favorite books. Yeah,
mine too. It used to be, but yeah, Alchemist. So that also, from that point of view, if you even apply it to your spiritual self, it's the same thing. You desire for it, you beg for it. Like somebody, Sutapa Prabhu says that all that we can do is beg. We are beggars. That's all that we are. There is nothing that we can do on our own. There is nothing that we can achieve, and we must not even think that, I have the ability. So all we can do is beg and just pray for the mercy. That's it.
Yeah, absolutely. Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you. I know it's
Hare
already
Krishna,
5.
Hare Krishna, Madhu Kumari. Sorry, it's a late thing. I just wanted to say it's a wonderful, well-structured class. It was really enlightening. I just wanted to know, regarding, you said Arjuna was speaking on the basis of Dharma Sastra and Niti Shastra. So that was the normal thing to do when, we were not Krishna conscious.
Correct.
So how all our tradition, our parents and thing, I don't think they were, they were following Dharma, but not like Hare Krishna people. So how does it kind of evolve? How does it get rectified then?
So, Palika Mataji, that is the whole Krishna conscious movement. What one has to understand is that, and we will discuss this when we go in the further chapters, Karma Yoga and the 4th chapter, and when we discuss the yoga ladder. What we have to remember is that all of us are on different stages of the yoga ladder.
Yeah.
Right. So yes, if we talk about our parents, they were still, most of them were, following the dharma that had been taught to them, that had been coming down through their family traditions, like, waking up in the morning, offering arti, whether it was to the demigods and not to Krishna directly, that doesn't matter, because at that time, for that stage in their life, they are on that yoga ladder. And when we study the Karma Yoga and in the Vedas, the Karma Kanda section, where it says that, allow such people to evolve naturally. Don't, how do you say that, if you take them out like that from that position and put them in a position where they are not ready for, that will not be correct.
Okay.
See, in Krishna, the Bhagavad Gita says, it is better to do your own dharma imperfectly rather than do somebody else's. So if you apply the same logic here, if some people are on a particular stage in their spiritual journey, unless they are ready for the next stage, there is no point in pushing them to the next stage, because then they will not be able to sustain and they will come back down.
Yes, that makes a lot of sense.
See,
yes,
so it doesn't matter that, okay, they didn't follow, they were not, probably not Krishna conscious, but the point is that each and every person is Krishna conscious, because Krishna is in the heart of each and every living entity. It has not manifested, but it will manifest when Krishna desires it for that particular living entity. I can only be an instrument. I cannot do anything more than that unless Krishna desires it.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. I think that's it. If there are no other comments, then we should end. Thank you all very much. Vanchakalpatrubhascha kripa sindhu.
Thank you so much, Mataji, for the wonderful class.
Thank you, Mataji. Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna. Thank you.